Welcome everyone, I'm Dale and this is Cinema Historia. A lucky gambling barber, a big city kingpin, and a blackmailing blonde. This week we're going back to 1931 for a crime drama film called Smart Money, starring Edward G. Robinson, James Cagney, Evelyn Knapp, and Noel Francis. And this is directed by and produced by Alfred E. Green. So, let's begin our story. Our story this week involves Nick Venizelos, played by Edward G. Robinson, and his assistant Jack, played by James Cagney. Nick, a prosperous small-town barber, provides his customers with gambling in his back room. He is so lucky at dice and cards, his friends suggest he go to the big city and take on gambler Hickory Short. Not lacking in self-confidence, Nick, however, needs a minimum of $10,000 to enter such a prestigious game. Nick puts up half the stake from the barbershop himself, while the others eagerly raise the rest. He leaves the shop under the supervision of his associate Jack, is wished good luck by his friends at the station, and takes the train into the big city. At the Stanton Hotel, Nick meets Marie, played by Noel Francis, the pretty blonde working at the hotel cigar stand, and asks her out for dinner. At the seafood restaurant, Marie confides that Hickory is holding his illegal high-stakes poker game in room 346. Entering the room, Nick sits down at the game and is introduced who presumes to be Hickory Short and his gang, including two-time Phil and Mr. Deep River. Nick is taken and loses all his money, however, later sees in a newspaper that the real Hickory Short is serving a 30-day sentence in a Florida jail. The man he thought was Hickory is actually con man Sleepy Sam, and Marie is his girlfriend and accomplice. When Nick foolishly tries to get his money back, Sleepy Sam and the other fake poker players beat him up and send him packing. After he gets out of the hospital, Nick is sent a case of champagne with a note from Hickory stating, "Better luck next time." Enraged, he vows to get revenge. I don't blame him. So, does Nick go back to barbering, raise another stake, and track down Sleepy Sam? Using shaved cards, does Nick become very successful and get to play the real Hickory Short? Is Nick so brazen that public outrage puts pressure on the district attorney? Or does a weakness for blondes give Nick trouble after rescuing a young woman half drowned, from the river? Released July 11th, 1931, it is the only occasion Robinson and Cagney appeared in a film together, despite being two leading actors, mainly portraying gangsters, at Warner Brothers Studios throughout the 1930s. Smart Money was shot after Robinson's signature film Little Caesar had been released, and during the filming of Cagney's breakthrough performance in The Public Enemy, which is how Cagney came to play a supporting role. Winning two 1931 Photo Play Awards, Best Pictures of the Month and Best Performance of the Month for Edward G. Robinson, the writing team of Lucien Hubbard and Joseph Jackson were nominated at the 4th Academy Awards in the now-defunct Best Story category. And I did Little Caesar from 1931 on my channel. Please click the link below. Another great film. And our trivia question this week: did two players with uncredited roles play an important part in our film? Did two players with uncredited roles play an important part in our film? So, a little more history and the answer to our trivia question right after this. In our film, Nick travels to the big city as a passenger on one of the Pullman car trains, making the Pullman Car Company the subject of this week's history. So, the Pullman Company was a manufacturer of railroad cars in the mid to late 19th century, through the first half of the 20th century during the boom of railroads in the United States. After spending the night sleeping in his seat on a train trip from Buffalo to Westfield, New York, George Pullman was inspired to design an improved passenger rail car which contained a bed or sleeping accommodations for all its passengers. He had a great deal of experience with compact and efficient sleeping accommodations, thanks to his experiences with the canal boats on the Erie Canal. In 1857, he formed a partnership with former New York State Senator Benjamin C. Field and secured a contract from the Chicago, Alton, and St. Louis Railroad to develop a more comfortable sleeping car. In 1863, Pullman built the Springfield, named after the town it was built in, and President Lincoln's hometown, and the Pioneer. With his own fortune and that of his investors, Pullman greatly expanded the company in 1868. The first of many, that year he created his first hotel on wheels, the President, a sleeper with an attached kitchen and dining car. Now an established company, Pullman built sleeping cars which featured carpeting, draperies, upholstered chairs, libraries, card tables, and an unparalleled level of customer service, including food that would rival the best restaurants. In 1880, Pullman bought 4,000 acres, 14 miles south of Chicago, on the Illinois Central Railroad for $800,000. To solve the issue of labor unrest and poverty, he built a new plant there, and also a town adjacent to his factory with its own housing, shopping areas, churches, theaters, parks, hotel, and library for his employees. The best years were the mid-1920s for the Pullman Company, growing a fleet of 9,800 cars and employing over 28,000 conductors and 12,000 porters. However, during the Great Depression, rail travel declined because of the economy and competition from the automobile. In the 1950s, the decline continued as airlines were carrying twice as many passengers as the railroads. The company closed its factory in the Pullman neighborhood of Chicago in 1955, and the company ceased production after the Amtrak Superliner in 1982, and its remaining designs were purchased in 1987 when it was absorbed by Bombardier. Interesting. And the answer to our trivia question this week: did two players with uncredited roles play an important part in our film? Yes. Edward G. Robinson's wife at the time, Gladys Lloyd, appears as the second cigar stand clerk. They were married from 1927 until 1956. They would appear in 5 films together from 1931 to 1932. And a mostly unknown Boris Karloff, yes, has an uncredited bit part as Sport Williams, a gambler who bets and loses $100 in Nick's craps game in the back room of Nick's barbershop. 5 months after this movie was released, Frankenstein from 1931 premiered, making Karloff a household name. And I'll be doing a full biography on Boris Karloff in the future. Stay tuned. I'd like to give a big thank you to my viewers and subscribers. 5 will get you 10. I'll be back next week. We'll see you then.